How we doing, everyone? My name is Tim Doyle, aka Jim Doyle, and welcome to episode 1 of Back on Top. From debilitating herniated discs to fully recovered without surgery. And I know that's a very long title, but that's honestly the only way I feel like I could encompass my experience from being in extreme pain all day, every day, to now being pain-free and honestly in the best physical shape I've ever been in. This series has been a very long time in the making, and I'm really excited to finally share this with everyone. And before we start, I think it's important for me to say that I'm not a doctor. I don't have a medical background. I'm not telling you what you should do or should not do. I'm simply describing my own personal opinions and experiences. And there are really 3 main reasons why I wanted to make this podcast. First, I wanted to document this entire story for myself so that I can listen back on it, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. This was a critical time in my life, and I wanted to create a detailed narrative that I can always revisit. Second, while I am talking strictly from my own personal experiences, I do believe that my story has real potential to help people who have suffered from herniated discs or chronic back pain and have lost hope to a certain extent that they will ever fully recover or be able to live without pain. When I was at my worst, I would search the internet trying to find success stories or firsthand accounts of people who experienced what I was going through. I really couldn't find anything similar, so now I want to fill that gap so others can benefit from it. As someone who has fully recovered from herniated discs without surgery, with 0 lingering problems, I feel like it's almost my responsibility to share this entire experience. And then more broadly speaking, I'm sharing this whole story for anyone who might be going through any sort of challenging time in their life right now. I don't believe you need to have back injury to benefit from what I'll be talking about. It's obviously geared towards those types of people, but my experiences simply show how a person went through a very challenging time in their life for an extended period, but came out the other side physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger. So if you're going through something, just keep going, because you'll look back at this tough moment in your life and have extreme pride in what you were able to endure. So before jumping right into my story, I think it would be good just to give a little background into myself and what my life looked like before my herniated discs. So at the time, I was 21 years old, 6'1" and around 200 pounds. I've always been active my entire life. I played a lot of sports as a kid. Baseball and basketball were the main sports that I played. And I would say for the past 6 or 7 years, I've been seriously into weightlifting. Like, I'm obsessed with working out, and that's putting it lightly. So obviously when COVID hit back then and everything shut down in 2020, I was really bummed out that I wasn't able to go to the gym. Thankfully, I was able to get a rack, a barbell, some plates, a few sets of dumbbells, and a dip bar and put it in my parents' garage. And as time went on, I actually really enjoyed this sort of old school setup and the workouts I was able to do. So I worked out in my garage for 6 months from the start of COVID, so March 2020 until August of 2020. While I did love these workouts, I couldn't wait to get back into an actual gym. In September of 2020, I returned to college for my senior year, and I was finally able to get back into the gym. I was pumped to be back at school with all my friends, and even more excited to get back into a real gym routine. Life was going very well, to say the least. I was getting some really good workouts in, and it was so nice to be able to use equipment that I hadn't used in a very long time. All right, So now this is the start of how everything happened with my back. In the second week of September 2020, I started to feel something on the side of my left leg from my hip down to my knee. It wasn't pain or anything bad, but I just started to feel something. I guess the only way I could try explaining it is like the lingering feeling after you get a bad muscle cramp. I really didn't do anything about it. I was just thinking, oh, this will go away at some point. As the month continued though, and when October began, I started to feel that feeling even more, and that feeling started to turn into pain and pretty uncomfortable pain. My initial thought was like, did I tear my hamstring? But I knew that that wasn't the problem. I didn't have any bruising or swelling, and the pain was never in the back of my leg. I also thought that maybe I did something to my IT band, which seemed more logical to me. Bottom line, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something was wrong. I eventually mentioned my condition to my parents and started off with my special recipe for what I think can solve literally any physical problem or any injury, and that's a combination of Advil and Icy Hot. But then that didn't work, and then the pain spread down even further down my leg into my left calf. Getting into the mental aspect of things right now, I don't know why, but for some reason, I wasn't freaked out at all. Like at this point, I was in extreme pain. I couldn't walk normally, couldn't bend over at all, couldn't put on a pair of socks, couldn't sit down for more than 10 minutes, couldn't cough, laugh, or sneeze without feeling pain. Side note though, I was still working out. Couldn't skip my workouts. Remember how I said I'm obsessed with working out? Well, yeah, I'm this type of obsessed. Put on a pair of socks? Nope, can't do that. Cough, laugh, or sneeze? Nope, can't do that. That hurts way too much. But go get a lift in? Yeah, sure, of course, I'm good for that. The weird thing about the working out too was that for most of my workouts and the majority of the exercises I was doing, I felt minimal pain. This is a very important point that I'll expound upon later in the series. So at this point, it's mid-October 2020, either the second or third week in. Pain is terrible, and all the basic at-home treatments that I've tried haven't helped at all. The next thought I had was, okay, I'll go get a massage. Maybe that'll resolve the situation. As soon as the massage was over though, I knew it did nothing to relieve me of my pain. In the final week of October 2020, I was going home for my dad's birthday, and I decided to schedule another massage for that week when I was home. There's a massage therapist that I would use in my town, and she always did a really good job, and I had a good relationship with her, so I thought she would definitely be able to help. And at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, is this guy crazy? He's in extreme amounts of pain, and he thinks that a massage will just solve everything. And I'd say, well, at this point, I would say reality started to slowly set in a little, as I realized the problem may be a little bigger than what I originally thought. Instead of getting another massage, I knew when I went home that I needed to see a physical therapist or someone who could give me a diagnosis, or at least tell me what they believe could be the problem. Thankfully, I have a great relationship with a really good physical therapist. I'd worked with this guy in the past for a baseball injury when I was in high school, and I always stayed in touch with him. So I went to see him when I was home. He did a few physical tests, and within 2 minutes maximum, he was like, yep, you got a disc problem. And at this point, I kind of felt like he confirmed what I was beginning to zero in on myself. I'd been Googling possible conditions like any normal person does when they have something wrong with their body, and came across bulging discs and herniated discs. The description of disc issues seemed to match my symptoms, and my PT guy pretty much reaffirmed it. Obviously, I was bummed, and my hope had pretty much been broken that the problem would eventually just go away. I asked my physical therapist if he thought it would be best for me to maybe get an MRI, but he didn't think it was necessary at the time. He told me for the next 2 or 3 days while I was at home to take a leave, ice, and do some stretches that he gave me. Those few days passed, and the pain was still so unbearable with zero improvements. This is also the first time that my parents had seen me since this all started too, and they were not expecting me to even be close to as bad as I was. Probably because, just from my point of view, I was trying to downplay the situation as much as possible. But at this point, my mom was like, we're not waiting any longer, and we're not just going to guess about what's going on, and I'm definitely not letting you go back to school like this. So in the final week of October 2020, I saw a back specialist at hospital for special surgery in New York. He did similar physical tests as the physical therapist, but he believed that the problem could maybe be a little bit worse than what the physical therapist believed. My physical therapist believed I had a bulging disc, while the doctor told me that he believed I had a herniated disc. And in case you don't know, a bulging disc is the least severe type of disc problem you can have, and a disc herniation is a step above a bulging disc. There was really no way to find out exactly what was going on at this point, though, without getting an MRI. Thankfully, I was able to get an MRI on the same day I met with the doctor. A couple days had passed, and I had a Zoom meeting set up to discuss the results of the MRI with the surgeon. And I'd finally know what exactly was going on inside my body, and it was not good. All right, so I'm going to wrap things up here. I think this is a good place to stop in the story. In the next episode, we are going to pick up right where we left off. I'm going to explain what my MRI showed and the exact diagnosis that my doctor gave me. I'm going to break down what my reaction was to getting this news and how I dealt with the reality of what was going on. And I'll discuss the initial plan that my doctor gave me to fix my problems. If you have any questions or would like to talk to me about anything, the easiest way would be to message me on Instagram at jim.doyle. That's Jim like Gym. Anyways, I hope you found this episode interesting or beneficial in any way, and I will see you soon for episode 2.